Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to make sink or swim style house music. I'm going to show you guys a bunch of new techniques. As usual, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp for just $5. This really helps support me. If you guys enjoy these videos, definitely go grab this. And yeah, thanks so much for the support, guys. Let's dive in. Alright, so the first thing we have up here is this low end bus. Now, you'll notice the low end is grouped together. We have the bass and the kick in one group. We can see there's no group processing except for this little filter here, which obviously isn't on for most of the tracks. So, even though we're grouping these together, it's more for mixing purposes because it makes it a little bit easier when you can just go and turn down your whole low end at once with one knob, like right there, rather than having to go and have the kick and the bass separately. So that's the purpose of that. But then, from the sounds, the first is the bass. Now this is a really simple bass line. It's just two notes. And mostly, it's just this A, and then we bring in a little bit of G here. So the way I recommend you write this kind of a bass line is start with the rhythm first, right? Like it's starting with that dun 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 dun. Get it working on that level, and then you can go and try and add in some extra notes. Because I think the tendency that a lot of people have is to go and, put in like a whole bunch of notes right at the start. I think really you want to start with one note, because the truth is this is more about the groove and the actual placement of the notes than it is the notes that you're playing. The notes that you're playing are essentially going to allow the synthesizer to create a fat bass tone. That's all that you need to think of for those notes. But it's really more so about the rhythm. So yeah. And it's very call and response. This is dun 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 dun. Having that those two separate parts there I think is gonna be really important. And yeah, then for the sound on this one, it's just made with operators. So operators used a lot for these style of tracks, I think. And it's just a really, really solid FM synth. But it's very easy to create these fat bass lines in it. So what we're doing here is you can see we have just 3 sine waves. And the only thing that separates these is you can see the third one is an octave up. And we have a little bit of an envelope on the second one. So you kind of get more of a, on the sound, kind of like a punchier bass line. So yeah, we got that. And then it's just being sidechained to the kick. And then I'm also doing this EQ here just to cut out some frequencies that we're not going to hear below 30 hertz. And it just makes the bass line a little bit more airy and kind of makes it fit in the mix a little bit better. So yeah, and then we have the kick. So this is made using some new layers, but essentially it's my standard layering technique where we take the mids and highs of one kick and then the lows from another one. And you can see we pitch the second kick quite a bit as well to get it to fit with the bass line. But yeah, so if you take 2 solid kicks and you do this, these on their own are already very solid samples. Right? That's a really good kick already. If you do that, then when you put them together, you're just putting together 2 solid things. You're going to make one solid kick right away. Rather than if you go and try to take a kick from a sample pack that's not really that good, and then layer it with a kick out of a 909 that's not really that good, you're going to have some problems. But if you take a really solid, even they could be 909 kicks, but it's the source material has to be really solid. And I'm not saying that you're going to have kicks that are just straight out of the sample pack. They sound good, they sound like a processed track. But I'm just saying, don't just choose any old kick. Choose the kicks that really feel the best, and then use 2 of those to make one really good kick, rather than taking 2 kind of bad kicks to make an okay kick. So yeah, so we got those. And then like I said on the group, the only thing is just this high pass. which just comes at the end of 8 bars there for the transition. Then we have our main hi-hat, which is 2 layers, so we've got like a ch, and then the ts. And you can see having both of these layers helps us to really push through the mix and just feel really punchy. Like, I try to think of it like this needs to be even with the kick, right? Like, if you're gonna have this big kick, you need a like very fat hi-hat to go with it. And same thing really with like the clap, which you can see we've done that as well. So yeah, this is just layering 2 sounds that complement each other together. You know, it's not like we have 2 like 909 hi-hats. Like, it's not like we're fighting 2 of these together. We're putting one sound that does one thing with another sound that does another thing. And there you go. And then on the group of those, we just have a bit of EQ, so it's just cutting out the lows, boosting the highs a little bit, just without it, and then with it. Then we have the ride, which is a pretty standard sort of ride. This is a 909 ride. And then what I've done here is I've got this delay on it, so it's a little bit odd sounding when you listen to it on its own, but then if you put it with you can hear it just makes this kind of sit in its own space. And that's what you want to do with these rides, is that the ride is typically, you know, obviously it's kind of in the same place with the rest of the percussion, but if you can do something like this, like I just took the delay here and I have it on the ping pong setting with a really fast delay time, you can kind of like create these cool stereo rides, and now that's going to sit a lot better underneath the rest of the drums. Then we have the clap, which is 2 layers. So we have like the actual clap. And then we have a snare. And this is something that I think people don't talk about enough in the like production world. But you know, if you want one of these big fat house beats, like, it's not gonna work if you just use a clap. Like, the clap is really good, but you can hear compared to the open hi-hat and the kick, it's a little bit weak. You really need an extra like underneath that. And so that's where that snare is very useful, because you can hear that adds the and when you hear it in the track, you might just think it's just a clap, but again, like, here's just the clap, and then with the layer, so it makes a big difference. And yeah, then we have sort of like our shakers. Which you can hear is comprised of this live one. So it's like a live shaker, you know, some organic recorded percussion, which is being layered with these 2. So you can hear it's creating a pretty busy percussion groove. But you can hear that's creating like a really nice kind of bed of percussion underneath that main stuff. And then we have some more percussion here. You can see that we've got a few different groups of stuff. So the first thing here is going to be these live percussions. So we're layering together this one. And this, like these organic live recorded percussions. And you can see why we do that. Like, when I play you all of those different, like, recorded percussions, like, you know, this whole, like, organic thing needs to be happening underneath all the programmed layers. Because if we do just the programmed layers, like, all the stuff that isn't, like, a recorded live organic loop, you know, it's going to feel too dry. You need this stuff to give everything that life. So that's what these 2 are doing. Then we have another drum rack with some more percussion, which is really just a bunch of different sounds. You can hear it's just creating like a nice groove. And then the idea here is like, you know, we're kind of stacking up grooves here, right? Like we have like this. And then we put in like these bongos. The bells. And it's all these little things that on their own would be like a cool groove. But then as you stack them up, it all comes together. And that's what's creating this kind of like track. There's all these different things coming together that, like any two of these on their own would be pretty good together. But then you're putting so many of them that it's not too much, but it's also like just enough to fill up the track. And then the tambourine also is just being sidechained. And yeah, so then that makes up all of the percussion. And then underneath that, we have these little stabs. So you can hear, it's a bunch of different little sounds here that just keep hitting throughout. Like we have like a synth, which this is just the same two notes as the bass line. Just A and G. Same deal there. And you'll listen, it kind of moves with the bass line too. Like when the bass line goes to G, that's when this thing goes to G. And for the sound on this one, it's a pretty simple synth sound. It's just two wavetable patches, so it's this one, which is literally just this like unison saw wave with a filter, and then an envelope on the filter, and then this is the exact same patch, but without any unison. And you can hear those just come together to make a really fat synth, and then add some reverb, and it's being sidechained. We have like this little brass stab here. That just hits at the end of every bar, or every 2 bars, I guess you say. That did it. So yeah, and then that is just going through like a really short reverb. We have like a stab. One of these like old school kind of techno stabs going through some delay. And then just like a clap. And a bit of noise. And it doesn't matter what you use for these. You could do all synths. You could do all little just audio stabs. You could literally like get these from almost anywhere, these types of sounds. But it's just the idea of that, like, okay, we're going to have like this main percussion and bass line group. But this on its own isn't enough. Like you don't want just this, because just this is just one thing. You need the contrast of this against all these little sounds that are just coming in and out. So yeah, and then we just have some effects. You can see like we got like that one going through a little bit of auto pan. And this one reversing at the end. These are just some of my own from one of my sample packs. But I think it really shows you, like, you know, when you're having a track like this and you want it to constantly move and you want it to be, you know, this very repetitive groove. I mean, keep in mind, all of these loops up here pretty much are just like 1 or 2 bar loops repeating over and over. You know, you need something happening every 8 bars or so to keep it exciting. And it's not enough just to have all these little sounds either. Yeah, that's just one layer of it. Then these effects, like this FX 1 and FX 19 here, are going to be like the next layer. And the last thing down here is this vocal. Now, I've got a classic house vocal here. Which it's more so, I don't think this was used in too many tracks back in the day. But it's just kind of like a nice, it's got that vibe to it. And that's just going through a little bit of echo. And I also just added a high pass filter, just something I wanted to show you guys, to kind of get those vocals a little bit cleaner. But obviously we're not high passing too much. We're still letting most of it come through. We're just getting rid of any low end that might be in there. And yeah. So that was going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, everything like that from this video is available at the top of the description. And if you're patient on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate all the support. Every single sale really helps and helps keep me going. And yeah, thanks, guys. And I will see you tomorrow with another video.